Hello, welcome to the March update for Kinesiology 2513 for the online class. Two major things to keep in mind for this the next couple weeks. First and foremost, career plan checklist will be due on March 27th. So take a look at that on Moodle. Pretty straightforward. There's some things that you do want to keep in mind though. Making sure we get our resume submission done through Careers to Go. That's not something you're going to be able to do on March 26th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If you start then, you're probably going to run out of time. You're not going to have an opportunity to get it done. So I would, if you haven't done your submission to Careers to Go to get your resume critiqued and approved, work on your resume right now. Send it in because you are going to need that written approval from Career Services in order to meet that expectation in the assignment. The job search exercises are the next step in the checklist. This is again pretty straightforward. I want you to go out, look through some of the links on Moodle for some job opportunities. Okay, there's two levels that I want you to look at. I want you to look at internship opportunities that are available online now, and I want you to look at entry-level jobs that are available online now. Look at some legitimate jobs that you think you would actually apply for. The purpose of the exercise is to give you some idea of what you need to do in order to qualify for some of these opportunities. You may qualify. You may be getting close to qualifying for them now. You may be way off. And so the purpose is to give you an opportunity to kind of see what you need to be working on. What are the things that you need to do? What should you be using your time for now? In order to be prepared for the internship market or the entry-level job market. The last part is graduate school. In your career and goals assessment that we did at the very beginning of the semester, we asked you a question. One of those questions said, are you interested in attending grad school? If you answered yes to that question, then you need to complete this graduate school section. Okay. If you didn't answer it, or if you didn't do the career and goals assessment, or you don't remember what you answered, just email me and I'll let you know. But if you answered no, and you know you answered no, then that portion of the assignment doesn't apply to you. Then we'll put those 10 points into your job search exercise to make up the difference. Other notes: you must include the cover page in your submission. You must put this document in a PDF format and upload to Moodle in one document. Okay, there's 10 points involved there if you don't do that correctly. You might be asking yourself, why do we have such specific requirements on the submission? This is kind of a life skills thing. Can you take a document, put it together in a PDF and upload to a website? Because you're going to do that all the time for all kinds of other things in like life, and so we need to learn how to use a scanner, or we need to learn how to put things in PDF formats and merge them together. You can do it however you like to. You just need to be in a PDF. My suggestion is to put all your information together on paper, print it out, then find a scanner, scan it in one document at one time as a PDF, and just upload it that way. That's the easiest way to do it. And like I said, you're going to have to do that all the time. I scan and email PDFs every day, and so just get used to it. So that's career and goals assessment. If you have any questions, let me know. We'll talk about it. The other topic that we covered here in the class on campus here in Baton Rouge recently was interviewing, and I think it's an important topic for all of you to kind of think about and consider when we're going through the internship process, when we're in the market for an internship or in the market for a job. Interviewing is difficult, and there's some important notes that I think you guys need to be aware of and that you want to take a look at. A little background. Again, the job search, the interview process can be difficult to understand because every single job situation is a little different. So finding truly open jobs where they are truly looking for someone, they don't have someone in mind already, is really dependent on being able to find out as much information about that job or about that internship in advance. But when we look at interview success, I think there's three major topics, and we'll keep talking about them as we go through this, where you're going to have interview success. And one of those, experience with doing interviews. All right, so the more you do of them, the better. Your personal knowledge, your background. Can you tell your story? Okay. Can you sell yourself? You know, we talk about sales skills. I think one of the most important sales skills for anybody is, can you sell yourself? Can you sit down with somebody, tell your story, and tell them why you're the right person for that job? And that leans into the last part, is having this humble confidence about yourself to be able to sit in a room and tell somebody confidently, yet humbly, that you're the best person for a particular internship or for a particular job. Now, to get an interview, you've got to successfully execute the job search, and that's a big challenge. Okay, so use all the tools available to you. Job searching, 10, 15, 20 years ago was entirely different than it is now. So there's so many more opportunities for you guys to find jobs, find internships, get intel on the people who are working in those jobs than there were in the past. But know what you're looking for. Okay, have a really good idea of what you're searching for, and then when you start to get into some of these websites, start getting into some of these job boards, you're able to find what you like. Don't limit yourself. I tell our students here all the time. A lot of people really, I just want to work here in Baton Rouge, or I just want to go, I'm from Houston, so I just want to work in Houston. You're limiting yourself. Okay, you're limiting yourself to a geographic area, and that makes no sense. And in this business, as competitive as it is, you're going to need as many opportunities as possible. So quantity matters. The more resumes you send out, the more jobs you apply for, the better your chance of getting one, right? Quantity matters. And it just takes one, okay? It just takes one, but you've got to put some volume out there, especially if you're network limited. If you don't have a lot of contacts, then you've got to be very heavy on volume, heavy on quantity as far as number of applications and number of interviews. Again, how do you stand out in the job search? Okay, how you stand out will determine how many interviews you get or how many callbacks you get. Okay, so that goes back to resume development. It goes back to what are you doing right now in college to be prepared for the internship market, for the entry-level job market. And then network really matters. A lot of people will tell you that it matters less. My experience and the experience of the people that I've helped mentor, the more people you know who can vouch for you, okay, who can sit down and say, Kyle or Kip or Steven is capable of doing work, then the better off you're going to be. It's harder to go the other route and have very little network. So again, continue to try to find opportunities where you can find more mentors, talk to people, get more job experience. All those things really matter. Now, pre-interview. Say we've got our job search executes, we find an interview. Some things to keep in mind. Again, format is obviously a huge part of it. So is this going to be in person? Is it going to be on the phone, video, workshop, multi-day? There's all kinds of things to keep in mind. So a lot of people are very nervous about phone or video interviews. It's just part of the world today. You're going to have to do some phone interviews most likely. And so you just get used to talking to people on the phone about yourself. Who are you interviewing with? You should be able to find that out, and you should be able to ask that. That's a totally legitimate question to ask people. Who are you going to interview with? And then try to find out as much about that person, about those people in advance, so that you kind of have a really good feel for who these people are, what is their age, what's their background, where are they from, and then again, what are some things that maybe you can talk about in your interview that would align with something in their past, or something that somewhere they've worked, some topic that they've been involved with, some part of the job or some part of the industry that they've worked in, and so forth. If you're going to interview with a team, a league, a conference, any business, you want to find out as much about that business as possible going into that interview. And that's one thing that when I do some mock interviews with students, or I do some sit-downs and mentoring with students about a job interview opportunity, they don't know anything about the company that they're interviewing with. And that's crazy, man. You've got to know everything you can find out about that entity, what they're doing, what their past is, where they're going. some challenges they're facing, some positives that are going on, what's coming up in the future, everything along those lines. Lastly, know yourself. Know your resume. Another thing that pet peeve of when I interview people for jobs, I interview people for internships, and they've thrown something on their resume about an organization they were working in or something like that, and I ask them about it, they're like, that wasn't a big deal. Or that was, I mean, if you put it on your resume, be prepared to talk about it. And don't tell me that it's not something that's important, because why the hell did you put it on your resume then? During the interview, what are some things to keep in mind? Relax, try to be yourself. That's harder to do. It's easier said than done. But again, relax and be ready to tell your story. Sell yourself. Why do you stand out? Why are you different? Why are you the best person for this gig? It's okay to show some flaws. I get, a popular job question is, what are some things that you don't do well? Or what are some weaknesses that you may have? And, kind of the a-hole answer is, I work too hard, or I'm a perfectionist, Don't be, you can show some flaws, okay? People are willing to work with you, especially at where you're at in your careers, where you're at in your life as a young professional. People are willing to help train, help work with you. But again, be honest and tell people what you're thinking. Maintain eye contact, good posture, good body language. Avoid the presenter's paradox. Some of you covered that in your reading assessment. Again, don't just throw things into an interview because you think it's adding up. Okay, that it's adding to your likability, or adding up, or it's adding into your skill set. What's really happening in the interviewer's mind is, instead of adding that, you're okay and you're just an okay Spanish speaker, for example. Instead of that adding to your great work with marketing, or your tremendous effort with an event or something like that, instead of adding to that, it's averaging out. So if you had 2 10s in these two categories and you've got a 2 in Spanish, you've just hurt your average. You've not added any value. So keep that in mind when you're doing an interview. Focus on what you're really good at, and stick with that. Interview your employer, your possible employer. Another thing that annoys the hell out of me is when I'm talking to a prospective intern or prospective person we're going to hire in our organization, they have no questions. Not a single question for us. I mean, think about what you want to know from your employer. What are some questions that you have, and then go from there. Other things to keep in mind: if it's an in-person interview, dress for success. I mean, if you go over the top, you go over the top. It's better than dressing down. If you know the culture of the organization really well and you think it's fine, trust your judgment, or trust the intel you've been able to gather maybe from a mentor. But in my experience, when in doubt, overdress. Use phone interviews to your advantage. So when you have a phone interview and there's no video involved, I mean, you can write some notes, right? You can put some things together that you can look at and read and keep in mind whenever you're in your interview. I encourage everybody to follow up immediately with anybody that you've interviewed with. So if you get into a phone interview, an in-person interview, and be personal about it. So write them, get some stationery, write a little note, send it in the mail, say thank you for your time, thank you for the opportunity, I look forward to hearing from you soon, etc. And then lastly, in the process, right, in the interview process, in the job search process, be as creative as you like to be in that process, okay? Try to stand out. Try to find ways that people are going to notice you. We've got a lot of stories about former students who have reached out, sent things to each individual, like general manager in Major League Baseball, right? And put a lot of effort into like 32 handwritten letters. And you ask yourself, wow, I mean, I probably didn't get them anywhere, right? Because that's a total waste of time. It just takes one of those guys to pick up your letter, read it, and email you back, right? You don't have to get 20 of them. You just need one. We had a former student a number of years ago who did that. He wanted to work in baseball, so he sent a handwritten note to every single general manager in Major League Baseball, and he got one call back, and he got one email back about an interview. And he went down, worked spring training 1 year, and still working in the league, still working in Major League Baseball. So Again, just takes one. That's really all we got on the interview process, and some interview notes and just some things to keep in mind for you guys as we're continuing to move forward on this professional development track. Other things coming up, again, stay tied into the schedule. The semester's coming, closing down faster than you think. Really only about 6 weeks left, so there's industry interviews are going to be due soon. Keep working on the speaker evaluations. Keep working on your volunteer hours. If you have any questions on any of that stuff, give me a shout whenever you get a chance, okay? Been fun. Thanks for hanging out, watching this. We'll be in touch soon. As always, send me an email if you got any questions or any concerns. Talk to y'all later.